Does he have another family somewhere? I was thinking things like that. But when I would talk to my girlfriends and my, my people at church, my mothers in the church and stuff, they said, "What is wrong with you? Are you kidding? The man works 2 and 3 jobs.
So you got a good man. What you tripping about?
Right, he want to take you to Jamaica.
Exactly. And, he's doing everything he's supposed to do. He's there, Cheryl. So what? He doesn't like to take pictures. You're putting too much in it. So a lot of times I would just put it to the back. I just felt like there's something this man is not telling me.
Right.
There's something he's not telling me, but I could never see any evidence of it.
Everything I told Cheryl about me was the truth.
Right.
But it wasn't my name.
Welcome to Wow Black, a seriously opinionated podcast bringing you the real and raw on anything happening while Black. If Black culture's there, we're there. If you're pissed or empowered, then let's talk about it. Ride with us on this all Black everything.
Everybody, welcome back to Wild Black.
Welcome back.
Ooh, it's story time. And, when we bring you a story, it's a story. Like, there's a lot to it. A lot of nuggets, a lot of twists and turns, a lot of excitement, a lot of questions. And today is a hell of a story. I mean, it is literally the stuff that movies are made of. It's about an unfair environment, bad decisions. It's about lies and loss and love. But more than anything, today's episode is about redemption, forgiveness, healing. Today, we're chatting with Bobby and Cheryl Love. And you may have heard their names before. They've been in the news cycle. People have been talking about them, but you may not. But they're here telling us their true, but damn near unbelievable story. And before I jump in, I want you to consider something. How well do you know the people that you're closest to? And how honest are you about who you really are, about the things that you want? If tomorrow morning, you found out that your best friend was a bit of a stranger, or that the relationship you created was built on a faulty structure, maybe even an illegal structure, and the impacts of that past was going to significantly change your today and your tomorrow. Is your love for that person or your love for yourself strong enough to forgive them? What if it was you keeping the secret and your lies had been exposed, causing the world around you both to crumble? Could you forgive yourself? Could you manage the embarrassment and the pain you caused enough to allow your loved ones to remain close and love you? One of the toughest things that I think we do is our ability to not just recognize someone for who they are, but to love them through it, to forgive them through it, to forgive yourself. Could you do it? Today's story is really going to blow your mind. And our guests today, Bobby and Cheryl, have written it. They've written it down, and HarperCollins has picked it up, and their book is out now. It's called The Redemption of Bobby Love. But before I pass the mic to them, I'm going to take just a few more minutes and ground you in this story. I want you to get the synopsis before we dig into the details. The man you're about to hear and you're about to meet, known as Bobby, grew up in the Jim Crow South, in Greensboro, North Carolina, to be exact. But at that time, his name was Walter Miller. Walter grew up with all the struggles associated with a black man in the South during those times. And while he was a victim to his environment, he also made some choices that perhaps he shouldn't have. Some of those choices led him to juvie. But Walter, who later in life would take the moniker Bobby Love, escaped juvie to Washington, D.C. And that's where he made his way to bank robbery and eventually would take his new talents back down south to Greensboro. Now, long story short, a botched robbery attempt delivered Walter a stiff jail sentence of 25 to 30 years in a maximum security prison. Now, we all have pivotal moments, and Walter experienced one during this time that changed his path and inspired him to be a different man. Racism, personal attitudes, confused identities all made prison life rough. And in an opportune moment, Walter grabbed the change he wanted. He escaped, changed his name to Bobby Love, and began his new life as a strong, contributing member of society who loved his wife and his family. One day, decades later, this 64-year-old Sunday school teacher, church deacon, devoted husband, and Little League coach would wake up to find the New York Police Department and the feds knocking at his door and asking him to say his name, his real name. In that moment, Walter Miller from Greensboro, North Carolina was reborn. That's what we're talking about today, folks. And
Wow.
right? Bobby, Cheryl, I'm beyond glad and excited to have you all here. Now, I didn't want to steal the thunder from the story, but there's so many lessons that you and I got a chance to talk about and that appear in your book that I wanted to give the people just a quick synopsis of what in the world to expect today. So, say hi to the Wild Black family and tell us just a little bit more about yourselves before we jump in.
Hello, I'm Bobby.
And I'm Cheryl Love. We live out here in Brooklyn, New York. And we're just some ordinary folks that have an extraordinary story.
That's the truth. Extraordinary story.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we've experienced a lot from this story. I've talked to a lot of people about it. And boy, it's really coming together. This introduction you just gave us, it was beautiful.
I appreciate that. I did my best. I read a lot of the book, and I saw some beautifully constructed passages and paragraphs. I was trying my best to stand up against that, so hopefully I succeeded. But we want to go ahead and we want to connect you all to the Wild Black audience. So, Art, brother, do your thing, man.
For sure. All right. So just to give y'all a quick intro to what we in now. It's called the Wild Black Ship. 3 questions, 2 get you warmed up, and then we have 1 final question, which is our signature question that we ask every single guest on Wild Black. Y'all ready to go?
Yes.
All right. You two been married for nearly 40 years with 4 children, so I know you know a little something about this first question. Which decade is the best for sweet sounds of getting down?
Sweet sounds of getting down.
So, which decade created the best love, sex, romantic music? And you got to hit us with your go-to group or artist.
I hear the blushing through the phone. Mm-hmm. Come on now.
Yes.
Come on now.
So we got 5 options. We got the 60s. That's A. The 70s is B. The 80s is C. The 90s is D. And the 2000s and beyond is E.
Which decade got the best get down to the sound type of thing?
Ooh.
The
70s, the 80s.
I would say C.
Cheryl said all of them. All of them. That's what Cheryl said, the 60s, and the 70s, and the 80s.
So look, we could probably name one from each decade, bro.
I'm placing myself in that, and I would say the 80s.
The 80s?
Okay. When we met.
What's the group of song that takes you and says the 80s is the one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was Patti LaBelle's music. It was some Al Green.
Okay.
Yes.
It was definitely some Luke. It was
Marvin Gaye.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Luther Vandross.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Look, when you said Luther, I thought you said Luke. Okay, now look. Now, this is a bonus question.
Mm-hmm.
Could you sing your favorite song in any one of those decades? You can just give a little doo-wop. Matter of fact, you could just hum it.
Well, I can recall some nights that myself and my wife. This was when we was still getting our thing on. And, I used to play Donna Summer's that song, "Love to Love You."
Oh,
Baby.
yeah.
And that was a long song. And I tried to make it
No, I hear what you're doing here, Bobby. Bobby said that I needed a song that was going to last as long as me. Right. Ain't nobody got time to be changing the record.
Right, let the song play.
That's right. Yes,
I like it.
Yes.
Oh, y'all have got me a laugh already.
All right. Y'all passed that one. There go the second question.
Okay.
All right.
Like Vince said in the intro of the story, it's perfect for the big screen. So for each of you, if casting was completely up to you, who would play your spouse in the film? Cheryl, who would play Bobby? And Bobby, who would play the role of Cheryl?
I would have to say for me, I would say Denzel.
Okay, Denzel.
Okay, Denzel.
Bobby, you was a smooth one, huh? I see what's happening here.
Cheryl, when we first started to talk about this and some questions were thrown at us, Loretta, I think her name is Loretta Devine.
Devine. Oh.
Yeah.
As soon as you said Loretta Devine, I think about that walk she hit us with and waiting to exhale.
Right.
Come on.
Right.
Come on.
Yes.
Loretta
She's
Devine, that
time.
walk. Some of that Donna Summer. We got us a night, boy.
That's gonna be a blockbuster right there. Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get this third question. And this is the signature question. What do you love most about life while Black?
I just love life, period. I'm a deacon in my church. I've done some things and had quite a few girlfriends, white, black, blue, green. And
Bobby, don't get yourself in trouble, brother. Don't tread cautiously, sir.
That goes back a while, though. Yeah.
Good cover, good cleanup.
Come on now.
I'm just living and enjoying myself, And,
Amen. I love that. Cheryl, what about you, ma'am?
Well, I have always loved. There's no other color that I ever wanted to be. I'm Black. I'm beautiful. I've always felt like that I wanted to be a Black girl. And I remember even living in a project as I was coming up, I used to be like, I don't want to live in a house. I like living in this project, and I like going out to the sprinkler and the the monkey bars and different things and how we used to play and all the different things that we used to do. So there was I always loved being who I was, the Black girl.
I love that, finding the beauty in the moment that you are in then. I love that. I love it.
Okay.
I love it.
All right.
Cool. Well, we're going to move into our dope quote. Now, our dope quote is something from religion or entertainment, philosophy. It really doesn't matter. But it has relevance to our episode today. And as I was looking for a quote that really matched the spirit of what we're going to talk about today, a couple popped. But this particular one, which is attributed to an unknown person, like they don't know the name, just fit. So I want to read it to you and then get your opinion on it. Until we have seen someone's darkness, we don't really know who they are. And until we have forgiven someone's darkness, we don't really know what love is. When you hear that, what comes to mind?
To me, empathy. We have to have empathy for other people.
Yeah.
We have to listen. Like with me, how I always knew it was something with my husband, but I would not give up on him. I didn't want to give up on the marriage.
Yeah.
And he was fine. He was doing good, but it was just sometimes he would isolate himself. And I was like, what is that about? And then I would think about when me and him would talk about things, how Bobby would explain to me how, when I was younger, Cheryl, we had, it was the Jim Crow laws, and there was different fountains that we had to drink from. There was a white fountain and a Black fountain, and that just made me think, let me think about what this man is saying to me, and he said, like, after Martin Luther King had got shot, how James Brown would have to come on the bus, and he sung to the kids on the bus and telling them to calm down, don't go looting. And, you know, so that was just like a whole different era that, you know, he brought me into to let him know. And I said, you know, he's been through a lot. You know, I didn't have to go through that. I was singing in the Glee Club at that time, you know, singing.
Living
I
a
like
very
to teach
different
the
life.
world to sing. Very different, very different. So you have to empathize with people and listen. Yeah.
I actually want to dig in to that just a little bit. You just said that was how you lived. And Cheryl, you talked about how beginning to understand Bobby's background gave you a comparison that you weren't familiar with. You were singing in Glee clubs, and he was trying to figure out where it was safe for him to walk and where to look and which fountain to drink from. So I want to dig in and start really kind of explaining this story to our audience. Bobby, I'd love if you could just take a few moments and talk to us about your childhood, your early interaction with the law, and how growing up during the Jim Crow South really impacted the decisions that you made as a child.
I had some run-ins with, I would go to the stadium, especially when A&T was playing, and I would jump the fence and come into the game. One time I bought a hat and kept the hat on after jumping the fence, and the cops saw me with the hat on and they threw me out. But as time would go on, you know, I'm about 13, used to come to the community center, you know, so I played basketball over there. But also things were happening downtown. Some of these cats from here in New York had come down there and they started to sit in. You know, they asked the people, they said, well, how much does it cost to sit over there in comparison to us at this counter? So the lady said, well, everybody pays the same price for, you know, most of the time on the weekend, people buying hot dogs, you know, used to make a great chili dog down there. So he said, well, why can't I sit over there? They said, no, you sit over here, you know, you stand over here, you know. So I saw a lot of that, you know, and it just snowballed from there. From there, I got in other trouble in school. I got kicked out of school for not going to the office when I was thrown out of a class. And that was another strike against me. And then I would get caught stealing. But growing up in other areas, I played Little League Baseball. I played football, you know, but, you know, I'm going to tell you, I wanted things. You know, that was the life I was living then. We integrated the schools, and that was a fight for the first 4 months or so. I mean, first 3 months or so in school. You know, the white kids didn't want us there. And, you know, every day we would have problems. You know, they would try to get in front of us in the lunch line, and we said, no, it's not going to happen. So there was a fight, you know. We had one black teacher at that school. And she actually, I mean, you know, I'm sure she was afraid, you know.
Yeah.
And it was always us, you know, that caused everything, you know.
Right.
It was never the white kids. It was always us.
Even
you know?
when it wasn't you all, it was you all.
Yeah, it was still always us, you know. So those were the things that I can remember as I grew up down south, you know.
As I went through your introduction, I know there was a point in time where you were sent to juvenile hall.
Yes.
What was the catalyst for that? And then specifically, how long were you supposed to be there? And how long were you actually there before you escaped?
Okay. I got busted stealing. And this was my third strike. And it's undetermined as to how long you're going to be there.
Gotcha.
I got there in this late summer, about, I guess, maybe the middle of August. And my parents, my mother and my sisters, my two sisters and they came to visit me and gave me money. Mm-hmm. And I think I stayed there maybe 3 months. And I just started watching the guards and seeing how things work. I used to hear this whistle from the railroad tracks. I didn't know what they were. But they had told us that there were snakes in those woods. You know, if you want to run and you run in them woods, a snake gonna eat you. That's the kind of stuff they would tell you. Or they gonna poison you. You know, they'll bite you and they'll poison you, you know. Well, I said to myself, I'm gonna see. So,
the snakes out there, the snakes in here, one of the two.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. So I can remember on a weekday, you know, the guards would they would mostly work one guard that would, you know, be in the dormitory, but there were one guard. There was another guard that would come and do the punch clock, you know, every hour. So I kind of, you know, watched him, and I would lay there sometime and check him out as to, okay, when you come at this time, okay, you know, I'll come back to this such and such time, you know, and the guard he would come in you know, to the dormitory I was in, and he would go check the other dormitories, and he would, you know, go back to his office, you know. And the way the place was set up, his office was about in the middle of the place,
right?
You know, and the 4 wings that was in the building, my wing was headed out to the street. If you went through the back door, it led you to the street. So they didn't lock the doors, but you could get the doors open. I put it like that.
Gotcha.
I guess they were supposed to be locked. So I took my little bit of money I had, you know, and I said one night, I'm gonna try it, you know. So I got out the door. It was about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. The guy had just left to do the punch clock, and I ran out to the street and I started running up the street the way I came in with my probation officer. So there was no traffic out there because we out in the woods, you know. It's not like it's a lot of cars and traffic and stuff like that.
Right.
So I just ran up that street and ran up that street and ran up that street. Now, I knew that they wouldn't start looking for me with the people that was working because they couldn't leave the guys unprotected.
Right.
That was there, you know.
You knew you had a certain amount of time before.
Time, yes. Yeah. Yes, I did. I mean, they would probably make phone calls and start to come, you know, make some of the guys that's not working, you know, come in. But that was going to take time too.
Right.
So as I ran up the street, you know, and I'm looking for this train track, and I finally just went over into the woods, you know, and sure enough, I kept going deeper and deeper into the woods on my right-hand side as I'm going up the street. And I see that railroad track, and I just ran up that railroad track. I was scared, but I kept running up that railroad track till I got to the next city. And yeah.
How far away do you think that was?
How far did I think what?
That was that you ran from on the railroad track.
Oh, on the railroad track, man. It was a long ways, man. Because by the time I got there, it was light. You know, I had left about 3 o'clock in the morning, something like that, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. And by the time I got there, it was, you know, light, and the sun was coming up, you know, and it was lightening up the streets and stuff, you know. And I walked right into a bus station, you know, and bought me a ticket to Greensboro.
When you left and you got that bus ticket back to Greensboro, how did you eventually make your way to D.C.?
So I did try to go near my house, but not exactly to my house. And this was over there, the school that I was going to then, you know. So I saw somebody that, you know, I knew that was going to the school where we had, you know, desegregating and stuff like that. And he said, man, the cops was at your house, man. They were looking for you, you know. So I hurried up and went back to Lee Donnell's house. And that night he told me, and he bought me a ticket to Washington, D.C. And I got on the bus that night and going to Washington, D.C.
Now, during your time in Washington, D.C., that's when you found your way to robbing banks, correct?
Yes.
So once you made your way to D.C., you also found your way into bank robbery, right?
Yes. Yes.
I know the listeners are wondering, how in the hell did that happen? How did you end up doing that?
What was that transition like?
Well, when I first got there, I was living with my brother Raymond, and I was, I got jobs, but didn't do that good on jobs at that time also. So I stole his car one day. And after stealing his car, he had 3 sons.
But you said this was your friend, right?
No. This is my brother.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes, my brother.
Did you have intentions on bringing it back?
Oh, I brought it back.
So you borrowed it. You just borrowed
it.
You
just borrowed it for
Yeah. His wife said to me that, you got to go. You got to go. I don't want this around my 3 sons, That's this kind of way that you like to live and do things, So
yeah.
They gave me a week to find somewhere else to go and live. And my brother lived in Southeast at that time, so I ended up going to my sister's house. She lived in Northeast, so I went over there and started living with her. First thing she told me is that you're going to be going to school. So that September, I enrolled in school. And I was living with her. I was working at McDonald's and, mostly taking care of myself,
Right.
Myself and my brother Raymond, we ended up going into a liquor store and, we was wrapped wet towels around our face and they had tear gas in there and we hauled cases of liquor back up to my sister's house. And my brother ended up selling it. I don't know if he sold it back.
Strong hustle gene. Yes.
I worked in a topless bar.
Bobby. Damn, Bobby.
A topless bar.
I met a guy there was a bouncer, and he was a big old white cat, and we got to talk, and me and one of my good friends, we used to hustle stuff in there, We would have fake, they looked like leather front sweater shirts,
Right. Mm-hmm.
We sold those in there, but we didn't sell the real thing. We would go down to DJ Kaufman. They had a Jewish area in D.C., John Savage. That was some of the stores, people used to shop at. Lansbury, and we used to get those shirts like that for about $12, $13. And we would sell them in Clancy's for $75. So the guy came to us one night and he said that he get himself 2 of those shirts like that. So as a bouncer, I knew that I know that he carried a gun, So I said, listen, where can I get me a piece like yours? He said, I'll make a deal with you. So I got him 2 of those shirts and he let me, use his gun, And then that's when I hooked up with some of my friends and we went to a Safeway and we robbed that one night. And then in 1969, I got shot in a robbery with when President Nixon was inaugurated. And I was in Southeast Washington, D.C.
Oh, so you got shot too? Wow.
Yeah, I got shot.
I
got shot.
What happened? How did that happen?
Well, I was coming out of the store and I'm looking one way and the cop shot me from behind. He shot me in my buttocks and the bullet went through me. And now I'm arrogant and acting stupid and stuff like that. And they took me over to DC General and they did surgery on me. And I said, why do you need to do surgery on me? I told me, And we've been telling people, don't touch me, don't do nothing, this, that, and other. And they kept putting stuff over my face and putting stuff over my face. And they put me out. And next thing I knew, woke up, I was in ICU with both of my arms with IV and a tube in my nose, a tube in my side of my chest. And one of my arms was strapped to the bed. I had a policeman guarding me, So I survived that. I went to jail in D.C. I did 13 months in a youth facility place. So when I come out, I haven't learned anything. I'm just still stupid and wild and crazy. So one of my partners, I told him, I said, man, let's go down to Greensboro and take some money. So they didn't have a lot of the modern type of, security kind of things, like the plate glasses and all that stuff like that. In some of the places in Greensboro, you still counter to counter, the man standing there and you standing on one side and you did your business, So that's what we looked for. And we went down there one Saturday morning and we did a job and we came on back to D.C. And then we was, we get down, didn't have any money and said, man, let's go get a car. So we would steal a car and we would get down there and we would do it again.
How many times did you do it?
Wow.
Well, I was involved with like 4 of them until I got busted. Yeah.
And so what actually happened in one of the robberies that ultimately landed you back in prison, this time for 25 to 30?
Okay, it was, they convicted me on three armed robberies. And the robbery we did, when we got busted that particular day, it was in the summertime. And we went into, it was 4 of us. We go into the place and we thought, I like to have string, like shoelaces or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I would tie to people's hands and stuff like that, maybe lay them face down and tie their hands behind them, behind their backs and stuff.
But y'all were for real with this.
One of the guys that was with us at the time, he's passed now, but he took a sheet from, I don't know where he got this sheet. He started tying this guy's hand with this sheet, And now we like, man, we got to get out of here. We got to get out of here. Because the guy had looked and saw what was going on. He had started to come into that particular credit union and he saw what was going on and he ran out, So we went out the back door and that person wasn't securely tied up with that sheet. And as we were running across this field to get to the car, I look back and this guy's there at the back door watching us as we were running away.
The guy that was tied up with the sheet is free and watching now?
Yeah, right. They're watching us and we're running across this field to get to the car. So we got in the car, we got started and everything like that. And we got to the next city. I think it was Salisbury. I'm not sure which city it was, but we was headed to Virginia. We was on, I think, 85 going up north. And we got stopped. 2 patrol cars pulled us over. And, they kind of blindsided us as they drove in front of us. And then some more drove behind us. And we were stopped on the street like that. And we were arrested, brought back to Greensboro.
Now, for any kids listening, I don't suggest you do this. But Bobby, y'all should have whooped my man's ass who tried to tie somebody up with the doggone sheet. He needed his ass completely whooped.
Y'all should have went back and said, "Now you tie him up right now."
Where you get sheet from?
Right. If you gonna be a criminal, I need you to be a good one. Stop playing.
Right.
Right, so,
Light Knot. That's his name.
All right. So now this time, 25 to 30-year sentence. You are in prison. You have been sent to prison. How long did you spend there? And what was the catalyst for you escaping this time?
I was first. I spent a year on appeal. So on appeal, you're not really a part of the population,
right,
of the rest of the inmates. So myself and one of my partners, we was in a room in a cell over there on the appeal area. So then we moved over to the other area when they denied our appeal and everything like that. So now we go to the diagnosis and everything like that, and they start to, tell you where you're going to be working and what you're going to be doing and stuff like that, and you saw the psychologist or psychiatrist, and they talk to you and stuff like that, try to get information, or they wanted you to tell them about yourself, So I did all that, So they gave me a job in the hospital. So working in the hospital, I was, they taught you how to, do vital signs and things like that. And then we had a inmate to come in that had been shot. And he was in a hospital out there in Charlotte, I think, some city. But he had a real bad bed sore. And plus he was paralyzed. And after a year of working with him, he walked out of that hospital because he made parole. And he was walking with a lift on his right foot and crutches, And that got me a good write-up, for that work, So the next time I went up for what you call honor grade or, to move to a lesser, a minimum security place, I was moved to Asheboro. So I'm working for a civilian up there. One day, something happened to the newspapers. So the guy I was working for told me, don't bother those newspapers. When you come through the gate, just come on in, do your work. Don't bother the newspapers. The next day, the guard that was on the gate told me, we got the newspapers today. Take the newspapers that you normally take up there. So I told him, Mr. Such and Such told me not to bother the newspapers. So that put me in a trick bag. This guard wrote me up for disobeying a direct order. Mm-hmm. They moved me from that job, and then they put me in the kitchen. So one day I'm getting ready to go to work. Somebody cursed at this guard, that's a captain, walking across the yard. He called him a punk-ass nigger, and I would get blamed for that, Because when I came into the kitchen that morning, he said something to me. So I said, what are you talking about? He said, yeah, it was you. So what I found out later was he was trying to find, that voice that said that. He don't know who did it or who said it. But I'm coming in the kitchen. He knew I was up, getting myself ready to come in the kitchen. And he wrote me up. So now they moved me from the kitchen to the road. I said, oh, my God.
When you say the road, what does that mean?
That's working on the road with a sling blade and picking up garbage and trash and all that kind of stuff, And plus it's getting cold, So this is maybe around September, got into October, and it was getting cold, so they issued me a coat. Then I got this coat issued, and I had the bag. So the guard that was on the gate, he worked there on the regular, black guy. He was cool because he didn't really, bother us or, try to cause any kind of things to write you up about. So I went through that gate one morning with the prison issue coat, and nobody stopped me, So now I'm of the belief, that I can take my own leather coat and go through there. And I'm looking around on this bus, and I'm saying, I'm going to get on this bus. I'm going to jump off this bus, and I'm going to run and try to find the bus station, get me a ticket to New York, and I'm out of here.
Yeah, you was running a play you knew was already going to work. You had run this play once before.
Pretty much. So I would get up. I had watched the football game that Monday night, and that Tuesday morning I got up, and they used to call our names as we go through the gate to get on the bus to go to work. And I walked through the gate with my coat in my bag, and I went to the back of the bus. And sure enough, they went down this real long street. We went to down this real long street. And as he turned to get onto this other street into traffic, which was really no traffic at that time, I opened the back door and jumped off the bus and ran into the woods and took those clothes off that I had on and put on my coat. And I had clothes under me, and I was going. I came out on the other side and just started running, walking, asked a few people which way I could, find my way to the bus station downtown. He said, man, you got a long way to go.
Now, what year was this?
1977. This was November the 8th, 1977. It was my nephew's birthday.
Wow.
And at that time, how long had you been in prison?
6 years.
So you spent 6 years in prison, escaped,
right.
Made your way out. And this is when you went to New York, correct?
Yes, I went straight to New York.
Gotcha. Now, Cheryl, if you had to tell someone who was unfamiliar with your story, if you had to explain to them who Bobby was when you met him, right? The man that you fell in love with and got a chance to know, how would you describe him at that time?
Oh my. I would say he was a strong, Black, intelligent man that I fell in love with because at the time I was dating like younger guys and, they would take you to the movies or something like that. Mm-hmm. But Bobby, he was really taking me to nice places. Like that first date, he took me to see Gladys Knight in the Pips. So he on Broadway. Yeah. So he took me really nice places. And, I in turn wanted to take him nice places. Like I took him to see Ashford and Simpson and, we talked about music and, he was just really a nice guy that I could talk to. He was older than me. So I kind of felt at first maybe that, no, he's older than me. Right. But it was something that pulled me to him that, he's a nice guy. He was easy to talk to,
right. Right.
Yeah.
So Bobby, the man she just described in 1984 was different from the man who went into prison for 20 to 25 years. He was different from the man who escaped juvie and who committed armed robbery. There was a very different person that Cheryl met. What happened in you during that time frame that changed who you were?
I made a commitment to myself that I was never getting in trouble again. I found out about these employment agencies, and I went down to Fulton Street one day and I see a big old sign, Martinez Employment Agency. So I go in there and the guy tells me that, all the jobs are taken for the day, but come back to the next day. So that's what I did. I came back that next day. I was there early, waiting for him to come and open up. And I went to this place and I bust tables from 10 to 2. They only pay you $20 and I have to give him $2.50 of that, And so as I went to this place to work, from time to time, I met, this lady and she would help me and she would tell me, this comes straight here, and you won't have to pay him the $2.50, Mr. Martinez, So I started doing that. And then she told me about her too. The people that owned the restaurant, she was the hostess. The people that owned the restaurant were called the Garino brothers. And they actually had a food service, whereas they would take food and in 660 Madison Avenue was the Hertz building. They sold food up there. You could go upstairs and have your lunch, and I enjoyed that, for a while as I would make sandwiches and we would be in this warehouse downtown doing that. Oh boy. One day they said to me, we want you to go uptown and work in our office uptown, make coffee and clean up spills and take the garbage out and stuff like that. I said, no problem. And plus it was off the books. I was making $150 down there, That was good enough for me, man. $150 a week. Oh man, that was good.
Cheryl, one of the things that I read about your feelings at the time was you all were together and had a great relationship, but you felt something in your soul that was just a little bit off. And now I know love is blind, but it isn't ignorant. What did you feel and why did you ignore it?
Okay, so I would always felt like I could get so close to Bobby to a certain point, but then he would shut down, and I'm like, I can get so close to this man. We have a good time. We go out eating, dancing, everything, just having a wonderful time. But like I would maybe ask him something and he would just like shut down. Like wouldn't talk about it. I noticed he didn't like to take pictures, but yeah, that was strange. As I said, I love pictures, and we would always take pictures. But sometimes, every once in a while, he would take a picture, but he didn't like taking pictures, and that was another thing that was kind of off to me. And when he proposed to me, he said, yeah. He said, when I had said yes, he said, well, we could go down to Jamaica. And I'm like, Jamaica? I'm not going to no Jamaica and get married. What you talking about, Jamaica? And so that kind of is like, why he want to go to Jamaica? That kind of made me think, what is going on? Does he have another family somewhere? I was thinking things like that. But when I would talk to my girlfriends and my my people at church, my mothers in the church and stuff, they said, what is wrong with you? Are you kidding? The man works 2 and 3 jobs.
So you got a good man. What you tripping about?
Right, he want to take you to Jamaica.
Exactly. And, he's doing everything he's supposed to do. He's there, Cheryl, so what? He doesn't like to take pictures. You're putting too much in it. So a lot of times I would just put it to the back, the back burner. And like, let me just keep on doing what I got to do. Or I would have a recurring dream, I would have this recurring dream how this thick rope is coming out of his mouth. And I'm like, what is that about? And I just felt like there's something this man is not telling me. Right. There's something he's not telling me, but I could never see any evidence of it, of him cheating on me or another woman or anything like that. And like I said, he was there. He was taking care of me. He was taking care of the children. He would go to sleep a lot of the times, but he would always give the money to me. He was doing, he was there.
Cheryl, it's almost not even a fair question because it's impossible, but knowing the relationship that you two had, knowing how in love you were then, right? Mm-hmm. Even knowing how much you love Bobby, obviously, today. Mm-hmm. If you could go back, would you play it the same way?
I've thought about that. And the answer is yes. Yeah. But it would be where I would know what was going on. I wouldn't be deceived. I had to come to a realization, like, this man, you loved a man who deceived you. Right. But at the same time, I didn't know, that past, but I knew what he was to me. Yeah. And how he treated me and the children. And how he was a good man. I saw those things, Right. I felt like I can do something. I could pull something out of him. That's how I felt. Yeah. Like, I'm just going to stay with this man. I love him. He loved me. And he wasn't desiring to go anyplace else. Yeah. He was right there. So, and I even asked him, do you have another family? Is there somebody else? I said, you go ahead on if that's how you feel, And he was like, Cheryl, oh my God, no. It's nothing like that. He said, I feel good. I don't feel like I want to leave you or anything. So I just stuck with it, Yeah.
And Bobby, I want to bounce back to you. So hearing Cheryl say she wouldn't change anything, but she'd want to know. And then as you reflect back to the conversations you two had before she knew your history, and she would ask you, was there another family? Why do I feel these things? When she would ask you, what would go through your mind?
I would tell her there was no other family, for one thing. And everything I told Cheryl about me was the truth. Right. But it wasn't my name. Gotcha. She said that my family was bougie. Yeah. She felt that they thought they were better than the average person, And I just tried to, my sister, my brother Raymond, all of them knew, and Raymond asked me, he said, well, what should I call you around your wife? I said, call me Buddy. And my sister Jean, she said, just go ahead and still call you Buddy. I said, yeah, so we just left it at that.
That family was loyal because
Amen.
They did not. I just felt like, I said, why every time I come around them, I just felt like they're bougie. It's certain things like, they
come around from time to time.
And they were calling, I would say Bobby. Nobody ever called him Bobby. And that was kind of a thing too. I said, what? Nobody says Bobby. But his nickname was Buddy. This is where he grew up. Yeah. So he took me back to that place. So they called him Buddy. So I just said, that's what they call him, Buddy. And that was that. So
interesting, all the dynamics that happen when the truth can't really come out.
Yeah.
That's something, and I hadn't even thought about the impact on family and how you all interact in your relationship with them, because this went on for what, 3 decades?
That's right.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. Right. That's a long lasting.
Long time.
All right. So you all met in 84, married in 85.
Yeah.
You're building this life together, right? You all are loving each other. You're having children. You're a family of 6 at some point. Bobby, you've become a church deacon. You're teaching Sunday school. You're volunteering. You're a little league coach, right?
Yes.
Talk to us about the day all this changed. Like, Cheryl, I would love to hear you tell the story of the day that knock happened at the door.
So I usually get up early anyway. It was about 6:30, maybe earlier than that, maybe 6 o'clock. And I'm in the kitchen fixing a cup of tea. And one of my sons, they're up already because he has to leave early for a class. And so there's this loud knock at the door. And I'm like, who is it? And Bobby, he said the same thing. Who is it? So anyway, it said, we want 2A. And I'm like, well, who is this? So I went past, opened the door. And lo and behold, to my surprise, when I opened the door, the NYPD, FBI, come in, guns drawn, and I'm like, oh, wow. They come in, they put Sammy back, ma'am, move back. You don't know who this is. And I'm like, what? I don't know who this is. And when that man said that, I tell you, when that officer said that just made the hair stand up on my neck when he said that, because I'm like, I don't know who this man is. So I'm looking at Bobby like, what's going on? And he's not looking at me. And I'm like, oh my God. And the officer is pushing me back towards the kitchen there. And then I see the officers, they're standing around Bobby and they're saying things to him, but I didn't really hear what they're saying, And then I heard them say, we're going to have to arrest him. We're going to have to arrest your husband and take him in. And I'm like, for what? And I don't even remember them saying anything. And at this time, I really didn't hear about the name or anything. I didn't hear anything about him having a different name. But all I felt was, my God, I said right here and now, this is what it was. All that time that I was feeling, this is it right here,
Wow. And you had that recognition in that moment?
Yes. Wow. I had that. I said, this is it. Whatever it is. I didn't know what it was, but I said, whatever it is, this is it. This is that thing that I felt all those years. So, yeah.
Wow. Bobby, what's going through your mind as you see FBI, NYPD coming into your house, telling your wife that she doesn't know you? What's happening in your head at this point?
Okay, they came over to me and they kind of surrounded me. My bed was in the living room at that time, so they would come and say to me, "What's your name?" I said, "Bobby Love." I was low, and they said, "No, your real name." I said, "Walter Curtis Miller," and tears just, swelled up in my eyes, and I'm just thinking, man, this is. Oh, man, this is it, man. My world is, oh, wow. Everything, man, is just going to go tumbling down, I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to say. They were saying to me, you had a long run, and Cheryl was shouting and trying to ask me what was going on. She said, one of the times, she said, "Did you kill somebody?" I said, "No." I told her that this was way before I had met you, before we had the kids, everything, this is a part of my past. Okay. And Cheryl was telling them that I was a diabetic and stuff like that, but I was devastated. I was, oh man.
It was a mess. I'm trying to get something into some cookies to him. I said, he got to eat something. And they were still trying to keep me back. And then I guess they said, just let that lady go. Cause I'm like not listening to them. I'm like, here, honey, eat these cookies. He has to eat these cookies because he's a diabetic. Also he needed a coat. He had to put his clothes on. I said, you can't take him like this. He needs a coat. He needs on his coat, So they said, okay. And they let him get his coat. They let me get his coat and things like that and give that to him, but not really getting close to him to hug him or things like that.
There's one moment that I see in my mind, and it's that moment for you, Cheryl, where you say, this is it. I don't know what this is, but this is it. This is it. I want to ask one specific question.
Okay.
The moment you heard them turn to Bobby and say, what's your name? No, what's your real name? And you heard him say, Walter Miller. What went through your mind at that moment?
At that moment, I didn't hear because they were talking low to him. I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that at all. When I came to the to know of who he was, what happened was his lawyer who they got for him called me and she said, okay, Mrs. Love, so when you go and see Bob, she said, when you go see your husband, that's what she said. She said, you're going to ask for Walter Curtis Miller.
Wow.
And I said,
who is
said, no, right. I didn't even say that. I said, is that the building he's in? Is that the building he's in? Is that the facility? And she didn't say nothing. She just said, no, ma'am. She said, but you asked for that name. And I said, okay. But I tell you, when I hung up, didn't even hang up the phone completely, I put the phone down and I said to Jessie, because Jessica was still, I said, just like that. I said, Jessie, that's your father's name.
Wow.
Walter Curtis Miller. And it came to me because I heard that Miller, that's his sister's name, Jean Miller Levette. And I put it together and I said, wow. Oh my goodness, that's it. That's it right there. Yep.
Wow. All right. So for the sake of the timeline.
Yeah.
What year is this now? What year did they knock on the door?
2015.
2015.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Right.
January 22nd, 2015. It was a Thursday.
Wow.
Yes.
So to tie the line together, met in 84,
yes.
Married in 85, happy couple, 4 children, building a life together. Then in 2015, everything changes.
Yes.
Wow. Bobby, for you, after they've come to the door and they've taken you away, and I know you're in holding cells and there's some time that passes, but what happens to a man who escapes prison 3 decades prior to being caught again? Does it turn into finish your sentence? Is there a new sentence levied? What happens in this case? You're not even the same person by any means at this point. What happens to this? How does this move forward?
I wasn't charged with escape. I wasn't charged with anything. The lady told me that you're not going to be given any more time, but you're going to have to, your release date is 2024. I went to the diagnostic, they take your fingerprints, they do handprints, they take pictures of you, they take profiles, they do a lot of that stuff, and they have you write some stuff like that, and, they want to see your handwriting and everything, so anything that they can identify me with, if something should happen, they wanted to have that. So I did that. I did that for 2 days. And then after, I think I was there for like five days, they shipped me to Spruce Pines. That was a road camp.
So that's kind of like circular, right? This is very similar to what happened to you the first time then.
Yes,
Gotcha.
yes.
So Cheryl, I want to ask you this question.
Okay.
For Black folks, I can't think of much that's more important in our success than that of a supportive partner, like a partner who prays and listens and is patient and cares and prioritizes you. So the question I have for you is, how in the midst of this storm did you find the room to still be supportive and love Bobby the way he needed it, probably more than ever?
Well, I honored my vows. That was very important to me. And I loved Bobby. I loved the marriage. I loved our life together. And I just felt that he needed me at that time. And thing is, I know that if it was the opposite way, I believe Bobby would have done the same thing. You know, there was times when we didn't have much, and I noticed how he would give of him. He would give to us first before even him, even before, giving food to himself. He would make sure we had. He would make sure that the kids were taken care of. I looked at those things, and to me, that he honored that. And even for a man to give you his last name, he wanted me to be with him. And so Bobby taught, like I said, to me, he was a smart guy. Right. He taught me a lot of things. He taught me that I don't have to say yes right away to things. You can tell a person, listen, you can wait. And he used to tell me, if anybody bothers you, you let me know. And you can blame it on me. You can tell him, my husband will take care of it. So he was a man all the way through. And I just felt like I loved him. I felt like I had to support him.
Right.
I wanted my marriage still. And I had even because there was a time now I felt like I was gonna, in our marriage, where he wasn't being affectionate, and just like wouldn't talk and things. And I'm like, right. I need somebody who's going to respond back to me. And, I spoke to 2 ladies that are in my life, my godmother and a mother of our church, Sister Smith. And one of them said to me, Sister Smith said, honey, let me tell you, everybody has a past and you have to weigh it out. Do you want to be with your husband? So how has he treated you? So that opened my eyes, even though these are like little nuggets, but they were precious nuggets that I needed to hear because I was like embarrassed,
We're nearing the end, and I want to ask 2 more questions, one for each of you. Cheryl, for you, what does forgiveness mean? And have you fully been able to forgive Bobby?
Okay, so forgiveness to me means you have to let it go. Forgive and forget. Because if you don't forgive, you know what? Bitterness comes in. And Lord knows I didn't want that. No, we don't want bitterness. You have to forgive that person because it's not only going to help that person, it's helping you too. Yeah. So I had to let it go for me, I had to let it go for me too. I had to forgive myself. And so you have to forgive.
Amen.
Yeah.
Bobby, almost the exact same question. What does forgiveness mean to you? And have you fully been able to forgive yourself?
I would say yes. I'm still a work in progress. I pray every day. I pray 4 or 5 times a day. God has shown me and given me so much, in my life that, I watch the evangelists on TV. I watch Joel Osteen, and I know his, this is my Bible. It says I can do what it says I can do. At the end, he does, I forgive my sins, and all of that right there. All of that makes me good. Just recently, I told my spiritual advisor, who is Minister Hobbs, and I told his wife, I said, when I come in here to the sanctuary, I just get this uplifting feeling when I come in there. We come in there early on Sundays and we pray. We start to straighten up the church. It's so magnificent and it's so great, and I feel good. And God has brought me so far, so far, and he's still bringing me.
Amen to that. I love that. Well, Art, brother, you got anything?
Hey, it's an incredible story. Incredible.
Thank you.
It is. Cheryl, Bobby, we appreciate you spending this time with us. I'm glad that you all were able to survive everything that was thrown at you and find your way to the other side together. Right? Strong love, strong Black love is something I'm a huge fan of.
Yes.
And I love to see this. To the listeners, I hope this story was intriguing to you. It absolutely was to me. I hope that you go out and you get this book. It's out now. It's called The Redemption of Bobby Love, a story of faith, family, and justice. Please go out and check it out. With that, Wild Black, peace. We out.
Thank you.